The Great Reset was launched on camera in 2020. We played the clip by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales on the World Economic Forum website. That's the World Economic Forum. You see that at the top? A golden opportunity. His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales on the Great Reset. His Highness also posted it to his own website, a royal website, royal family website. Since then, the Prince has become king, and he's a little more constrained. He was supposed to be giving a big speech at the Eco-Alarmist Jamboree, COP27, but he's been prevailed upon to pull out. There's going to be a lot of that. Rain stopped play, as the cricketers say. Our favourite of His Majesty's Australian subjects joins us now, Alexandra Marshall. Are you going to be missing the King's speech at COP27?
Oh, it's such a shame, Mark, for the King not to be able to speak at his favourite conference. But look, he fancies himself as a down-to-earth environmentalist. That is part of his whole thing. But he's the kind of environmentalist that powers his Aston Martin with white wine and cheese, which I'm not sure is going to be the solution for the working-class Brits who are having to pick between their energy bill and their grocery bill. So the problem that Charles has got is that he launched the Great Reset. There's no getting away from the fact that he did that on a royal account. And now people are gently tapping him on the shoulder and saying, there's a difference, mate, between loving the environment and growing some plants in your back garden and maybe talking to them on occasion and falling in line behind a political movement that has gone global. And he is yet to learn the difference between the politics of climate and his love of the environment. Now, all we can hope is that he is naive and misguided and that he will eventually take Liz Truss's advice. The irony there with Liz Truss being involved in the World Economic Forum, but we'll put that to one side for a second. Hopefully he'll take the advice and go back to gardening and stay out of COP27.
Well, I should point out that you are on whatever it is, the Board of Australians for Constitutional Monarchy. You're an Australian monarchist. I'm a Canadian monarchist. And one of the things about constitutional monarchy is that you have to suffer through some bad patches when the roll of the dice means the current king isn't as good as the previous king was. But I wonder, perhaps, if he hasn't made a calculation. He likes the idea of being head of the Commonwealth because you speak without being advised by your UK PM or your Australian PM. You're just speaking as you. He likes the idea of that, and he likes the idea of his son following in his footsteps. And perhaps the reason for that is if you're a conventional constitutional monarch, you appeal to Squaresville guys like me. But if you're a super woke, cutting-edge monarch, it will endear him to his younger subjects, such as your good self. Is that thinking sound?
I take offence at being roped into that category. Thank you very much, Mark. I'm more sensible than that. I'm more of that square that you talked about. No, but whoever's given him advice about the young, he's confused being cheered at a climate conference to the young liking the monarchy because he's an environmentalist. Now, what he's forgotten is that the young are being raised as Marxists, socialists, sometimes communists, whatever. They're all being raised as collectivists to hate the monarchy. So he's not going to get any traction in that young community by falling in line behind the environment. The only people who will support him are the conservatives who dislike the World Economic Forum for obvious reasons because it wants to tear down capitalism and tear down the monarchy as well, just quietly. So he's literally sleeping in the bed with the people who want to kill him. And the king has to be extremely careful with that because it's a path to nowhere, and he's upsetting and annoying the very people who want him to succeed.
Yeah, that's actually a very shrewd insight there, Alexandra. The king obviously thinks, though, there are certain things that are beyond politics, and saving the planet is one of them to him. Hasn't he been given a lot of encouragement after the last 3 years, where basically we were told all during the COVID thing that there's one official now. This isn't a political thing. We're now governed by technocrats who look at all this, the science dispassionately and say this, that and the other. And the King thinks that applies to the climate, and politicians think that applies to the COVID. But there's a lot of it about, isn't there?
Well, I've said it before. I wrote an article on the King launching the Great Reset that if he wants to be an environmentalist, yeah, sure, true environmentalism is not political. He could go out and plant a forest. He could refocus on taking care of the Crown estates. He could sponsor his own educational benefits and things for children. He can do anything he likes in the environment so long as it is not connected to the United Nations, to the World Economic Forum, or to any of these other politicized green groups, and he certainly shouldn't stand next to any of the representatives or attend any of their forums. So yes, he can indulge, he can take a film crew to the Amazon and no one would mind, right? That's okay. That's not political. The problem is when he gets up and gives his speeches, he basically copies and pastes the rhetoric straight from the revolutionary writers at the World Economic Forum, and any monarch should be super careful about saying words like revolution, reimagining the economy, and tearing down civilization, which is essentially the subtext of what he has been saying. So he's not embracing environmentalism as a concept. He's hard on the politicized climate change movement because that's the advice he's been given, and that's the circles that he has moved in as a king, or as a king in waiting. He had nowhere else to go. So he sort of got adopted by the wing of this movement.